Okay, hopefully this time my recording will work. Right, kiddies, we're going to make a mouse top because I cannot be bothered going into uni tomorrow to help anyone to actually do their work. So the first thing we want to do, as always, select the working directory. I'm going to save it to this random hard drive I have, and we're going to create a new part. It's going to be an assembly. We'll call it mouse top. We want to remove the tick there, and we want to go to millimeters, newtons, seconds, assembly design. Right. First thing we want to do is we want to come under here, tree filters, turn on our features so we can actually see what we're working with here on the left. Now I want to create a part. It's going to be a skeleton model. I don't care what it's called, you might. And we want to create our features. Now, it's important to know that when we do it this way, styles needs to have a datum plane at the very least, and we're going to want all of them. And freestyle wants to have a coordinate system, so we're going to base that off of our assembly default system. So there we go, we've got our coordinate system and we have our default planes, and if we come in over the left we can go, yep, here we go, here are our planes. You can rename these if you want. I would recommend renaming them if you plan to work with this for a while, because otherwise it will become a royal pain in the arse. Alright, so I'm going to do my mouse in freestyle. You don't have to do it in freestyles. You might like to do it in some other way, but that's how I want to work. I want to take this and I want to go mirror and mirror it around that plane. That is the wrong part to mirror. Sorry, I'd like to mirror it from this side and mirror it around the plane. And here we go. So now anything I do to it is going to be mimicked on that other side there. This way we can just make sure that everything comes out nice and even. So now I've started with a sphere, and a sphere is a little bit limited in terms of what you can do in freestyles. So I'm just going to make a rough shape here for what I want the top of my mouse to look like. And maybe I will come in here and I will go soft crease, and I will crease it just a little bit, and you can see here as I crease it, it's making this this shape here much harder. We can go for a hard crease and it's going to look fucking disgusting, but that's fine. We want to go soft. We're going to move it up there, and we're going to move this entire plate up a little bit. Let's take this point here. So you can see with freestyle you can do quite a lot if you want to. Then I'm just going to quickly show you another tool that you'll probably run into a little while later. That's under editing, and we're going to call it warp. So we want to select the surface that we want to warp. We need a direction to warp it in, so that's going to be a plane. And now we can come over here and we can sculpt. And sculpting's pretty cool. It's very similar to what we just did in freestyles, except you can do it on, as far as I know, any surface geometry at least. And you come in here if you want more detail, we can add more detail, vice versa. And you know, we'll just cut this in half and then mirror it around our plane again. But that's alright, we're going to cancel that out because I am happy enough with this as being the shape of my mouse. It's actually going to matter for you, but it's not going to matter for me. So the first thing we want to do is we want to take this this surface here, make sure the whole thing's green, and we want to intersect it with our middle plane. Or rather, we don't want to intersect it with our middle plane because I'm an idiot. We want to take this and we want to trim it with our middle plane. There we go. Well done, I'm clever, I know what I'm doing, trust me. I don't. Right, now we want to do an extrude, and we want to slice off this top part of the thing. Might be a bad idea for you to do that. Okay, let me head off you guys fucking up your work for later on. First things first, we want to make a copy of the style of this surface. So select the tilt screen, come over here, little copy button up here in the top left, Copy and paste. One surface set. Excellent. For now, we're going to rename this and call it outer shell, and we can just hide that. Cool. Now we can get back to work. We want to come here, do an extrude on the plane because we're going to cut off this top surface. And I'm going to draw it here. Let's say that the bottom of the top part, which is a bit of a confusing sentence to say, looks something like that. And we're going to go tick. It's going to say, oh, we have to make it a surface. That's fine. That is what we want. Make sure this this surface comes all the way out of the part. And now we can do a trim using that surface. And where's that arrow? That little pink arrow, we want to flip it because we want to keep this top geometry. And there we go. We can hide this extrude that we just used to trim. And brilliant. We now have our top half of the surface. Okay, so this is where I'm going to copy this geometry again and paste it because we're going to need it later. Alright, we're going to hide this copy again. And now I'm going to make my first set of styles. We're going to select this bottom plane as our active plane. We want to do a curve, and we want to do a curve on a plane. And we're going to rotate our view to the top so we can actually see what we're doing. And for now we're going to say this is the front end of our mouse and this is the back end. So our mouse that we're thinking of has kind of a little fingerboard button that comes around like that. That does not look very pretty right now. That's fine. We're going to go into curve edit. We're going to take this point here, hold shift, snap it to that center plane. You can see it snaps to the coordinate system. That's fine. We just have to drag that back. And now you want to take this handle here, and we want to go hold in right click and come down to normal, and we want to make that normal to this middle plane. Now we're doing that because anything that we create and we want to mirror it, to make the mirror actually look smooth without having any peaks or little bumps in it, it has to be normal to that mirror plane. So now by doing this we ensure that no matter what, when we mirror this around, this surface is still going to look good. Okay, come back to the top, and we'll add a little bit more of a curve into this. There we go. Tick that off, and now we want to do a drop curve. So we want to take that curve that we just drew, and we want to drop it onto this surface that we have here. And we want to drop it in the direction of that datum plane. So that's saying we're looking that way, and we're dropping that curve on anything that is vertical or below it. And boop, there you can see we have our beautiful little curve. Okay, and now we want to do a surface trim. Select this surface, select our chain. We're holding control here to select multiple of that chain. And which part of the surface do we want to get rid of? We want to get rid of this outside part. This will be the inside fingerboard. Alright, cool, we've got that. We're going to exit out of styles. We're going to unhide this copy here, and we're going to make another style. And this style is just going to have a trim, a surface trim. Take this quilt geometry, take this line that we have, and we're going to cut away the inside section this time. And then tick it off. Cool, now we have that surface and we have this surface. Right, so this one here is going to be the surface that we use when we make our fingerboard, and that's in our first style. So I'm going to rename you to fingerboard, and I'm going to rename you to edge surface. I don't know, I came up with that on the spot and it's pretty terrible. Now we want to select this inside surface because the mouse we're thinking of has, if we look at the silver part, the top part of the mouse, when we take off the fingerboard, there's kind of a little bit of a dip in here where that fingerboard fits in. So we want to take this surface that's a fingerboard and we want to offset it. Let's give it about 2 mils of offset. No, we're going to go for 3. Alright, cool. So now we have that inside surface. We can hide the fingerboard because we're not going to need that for a little while. And you can see we have that inside surface that we're going to need, and we have this part here. And then we have a little bit of a gap that we need to fill. So we'll come into styles, we'll do a curve. We want to change this from being a curve on a plane to a free curve. and holding shift we will click here on this corner and there on that corner, middle click to stop using that feature, then come back over here, shift and shift, no, and shift, there we go. And what we've done now is we can use this edge of the surface, those two little lines, and this edge of the surface on the inside here to make a little filler surface. So we want to hold control while we do this, select all of our chain, and this is probably where you will come into trouble if you're an idiot like me and you just clicked in the wrong order or you have a really terrible surface. This is where it's gonna screw up and not like you. Alright, there we go. Creo's having a little bit of a think. It's not responding. That's not good. There we go. Alright, thought about it, it's made our surface, and these little lines here say these surfaces are all connected. Cool, there we go, we have that inside surface. Now, I have neglected one part of this thing. And I'm just going to have a quick think. How am I going to do it? So this mouse in the center here, there's a little bump up here where the scroll wheel actually goes in. And I've forgotten to put that in here. So we're going to have to come back in here and go insert here. Actually, let's insert after the trim. I'm going to take that surface and we're going to copy and paste it one more time. You piece of shit. Yes, I want to cancel. Okay, make sure we have the surface selected and then copy and paste it. Cool, excellent, because we're going to need that again in a second. And we want to come back down here, right click on the most recent thing, hit resume, and everything, make sure everything is resumed. Down here we have our little green light. Take the time to save, or rather make sure the window is active and then save. Good. So I just did that, the save button wasn't working. Went, why is that? Come up here to the windows, make sure my window is actually activated. Sometimes Creo will forget what window you're working in. Right, now we're going to create this little bump up here. And we're going to do it by coming into this plane. And we will go, make sure our skeleton is active. When we change that window here, if I come here to ASM, it moves us back to that being active. So we need to come in here, activate our skeleton part, click on this plane, and we want to do an extrude. So what we'll do is we'll build the vertical walls of this part now, and we're just going to come in here, put that there. We're going to come in with a construction line to make sure that we actually have that line referenced. We could do it the other way by clicking references here and referencing the plane that we want, which is probably a much better way to do it. Select the arc tool. It wants tangent, that's fine, I don't care. Cool, and it says, yep, we want it to be a surface, that's fine. And we hit tick, and there we go, we have this big, ugly, horrible surface thing sticking out. Okay, now what we're going to need to do is we want to merge these two parts using a function called merge and intersect. So we want to control click both of these, hit merge. By default it's going intersect, and then whichever part has this kind of checkerboard grid on it is the part that we're going to keep. So we want to keep this little bit here, and we want to keep that little bit there. That's all good. Alright, and now we want to take this surface here, that surface, that surface, and that surface. And first thing we're going to do is we're going to merge. It knows it has to join these, so there we go. These are all now one big surface. Take that surface again, take that surface, do another merge, and this one's going to be an intersect. Let's see which part you want to keep. We want to keep that. Cool, there we go. So now we have this surface which represents the top shell of our part. Okay, and we also, if you remember, we come back here to fingerboard, we have the fingerboard surface. Now, the surface that the mouse I'm thinking of rather has a flat little circle here. So we can do that pretty quickly by coming into this, onto this horizontal plane, doing another extrude. We're just going to draw a straight line, and the straight line is going to be from, let's say from here to here. Oh, actually no, it's fine. Yep, from there to there. Hopefully that will drop off before it cuts off. And surface, that's cool. We want to make sure it doesn't intersect that part, because that will screw us up in a little bit. Alright, so there we go. We have that plane. It's covering the entirety of the circle that it needs to cover. And once again, we're going to take that. We're going to control click, take that surface, merge, options, intersect, and we want to make sure that it's keeping the geometry that we actually want. So we want that outside surface and that inside surface. It's a little bit tricky. If it screws up, you can just come back in here, edit definition, and fix it off for you. So there we go. Now we've got the flat part that we needed. Cool. So now what we're going to do, we're going to come back into this assembly. We want to create a part, and this will be our top part. We're going to create features, and we'll select this surface that we have and thicken it inwards. The plastic that we want is about 0.8. So there we go. We have, bam, our top surface. That's excellent. Spot the mistake. I have, once again, forgotten to mirror everything. So this is kind of really important when you're thickening. You can't mirror a thickened piece, and that's something that you need to be aware of, because if you thicken stuff and then you need to mirror it, you realize you have to go back and mirror that surface. So we want to mirror the surface around that way, and we want to take this surface we just made, and we want to hit merge, make sure it's a join, and tick, there we go. And we're going to have to do the same thing for the fingerboard. So while we're here, we'll take the fingerboard, mirror it around our plane, tick, fingerboard, merge, come down here, make sure it's a join, there we go. Lovely, that's our fingerboard, and we can take this merge here, and we'll just hide that for now. Okay, that's interesting. We'll just let it stay then. It wants to stay, we'll let it stay. We're going to unhide the part that we're working on, because then we can see what we're doing. And we'll come in here, edit definition, it'll update itself, and boom, there we go. Now we have our surface. Alright, so what most mice will have is they'll be held together with a clip, and that little clip will be an inside surface running all the way along this quilt. So we want to make that by coming into this option here, sweep, and then we're going to select the path that we want. So the path we want it to follow, the trajectory, is this inside curve here. And what we're going to do is we're going to click on that inside curve and then holding shift. Normally we hold control for most things, but we want to hold shift, and we want to select all of our parts. Now if you held control here, what you'll notice, I'll do it right here, is that it picks it as a separate chain, and that's going to create a couple of problems for you. In this case, you just want to hold shift, and that means all of these chains are going to be put together as one single origin point. And we hit this little button here, the sketch button. Oh, we want to click that little curve. It means it's going to allow the section to follow this trajectory instead of being normal to it always. And then we want to hit that sketch. We want to hit this little button here to align us to our sketch. And then we will draw our little rectangle. Let's say it's 0.4, it's half of the thickness, and it's 0.5. So that's 0.5 of a mil, 0.4 across, and tick that off. Let Creo think about it. And there we go, we have our little clip feature. Cool. Tick that off, let it wait. Let's make sure my recording's saving. And then what we want to do is we want to make a part here. Okay, so some of the mice, actually most of the mice will have little pillars which help it screw together. I'll show you how to do that quickly. We take this plane, bring it down to the height from the surface that we want it to be. Or what we can do is actually take that flat surface, make a plane off it, and we say we know that we want it to be 15 mil off of that flat surface. So this is, I don't know what size mouse this is. I didn't come up with a measurement when I drew this. Alright, and then we want to do an extrude, and we want to put in our reference system. So that's going to be something on the x-axis, something on the y-axis, or of our drawing rather, or we can just go to a coordinate system if you really wanted to, or a single point. We come in here, put a circle, because it's going to be a little circle pillar. It could be whatever size it wants to be, because I don't care. And then we want to go to this little button here, and that says to the next surface, and we want to hit the pink arrow, and now that means this thing is going to extrude until it hits the surface. And you can do this for curves. It will come up to the curved surface and terminate there. So there we go, we have an example of a pillar. And now what we might want to do is come in here, create another part, and this is going to be the fingerboard. Create features, unhide you, select our fingerboard and thicken it inwards. Oh, fuck me, picked the wrong button. And let's say that's 8 mil too. And the fingerboard, I have forgotten to cut out that circle bit in the surface. So that's alright. What I'm going to do is some quick little triage on that. We'll do an extrude. We'll place it. What we're going to do here is we're going to make the exact same surface that we did, and we'll use the solidify tool to cut it off. So we want to hide this entire skeleton thing because it's going to get in the way. We want to use the outside surface that we have here, and we're going to use this project tool. And we want to come in. It might be easier to see what I'm doing if I go to hidden line. We come in and we want to select the outside lines. I'm going to hit Control. I'm going to select all of these outside lines of that surface. Cool. That's fine. Tick it off. We want to go back to shading so we can see what we're doing. And here we go. And now what we're going to use is we're going to use this solidify command. We're going to hit that cutaway arrow, and we're going to cut away everything inside that plane. And there we go. We have our fingerboard. Alright, come back here. Make sure everything's regenerated, and we can hit Control S to save that. And there you go. That is the top part of your mouse. Hopefully that is helpful to you.